Hello and welcome to Critical Idiots. Today we get in the robot, Shinji.
父さん、なぜ呼んだの？
お前の考えていると
Shinji, get in the
じゃあ
fucking
僕が
robot.
これに乗ってさっきのと戦えっていうの？
Get in the fucking robot. Get in the robot. Get in the fucking
何を
robot.
今更なんだよ。
Just get in the
父さ
fucking
んは
robot.
僕がいらないんじゃなかったの
Alright, we're reviewing Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time. Now, this is a part of an ongoing series that ended in 1997, has continued on till 2021 with the Rebuilt series. Forgive me if I get this wrong, I'm of course talking about the series created by Hayadaki Anno called Neon Genesis Evangelion. It was a mecha shonen anime, was responsible for causing a lot of otaku culture, even though by and large the series very much deconstructed that culture. Very much a cry for help, a demonstration of profound trauma through such a popular mode of Japanese entertainment. All 26 episodes are great. The last two are a bit of a shit show, but I even enjoy them for the sort of meme of it. And I think that they were massively redeemed by the proper ending with the 1997 movie End of Evangelion, which I think is one of the most punk rock things I've ever seen. It's so intense and brutal and unforgiving and has one of my favorite endings in cinema in general. I honestly think that's a 10-star movie. Amazing. Doesn't work on its own. You have to watch the series first. Which is why I think they've made these new movies, which are classified as the rebuilds, all with ridiculous titles like Evangelion 1.33, You Are Not Alone, Evangelion 2.33, You Cannot Progress, Evangelion 3.33, Cannot Redo. I should say that I don't think I like the rebuild films anywhere near as much as the original series. I think if you're getting into it, you're much better served with the original series and movie. But for the hardcore fans that are so invested in this series that they cosplay, they get all the toys, they live or die by this series, I think it offers a lot of rewards to those fans. I didn't quite find it myself in the first three of these rebuilds, but I will say about this fourth one that it was pretty good. I actually really liked it. To get into the pros straight away, I thought it had some of the best animation I've ever seen. This beast took about 4 years to make, and how Anno, despite having lost some personal interest himself, certainly his wounded psyche is less on display here. He's more hopeful and optimistic in this new rebuild of series, even though some of the things that particularly this motherfucker Shinji does throughout the films is worse in a way. Still ends up more likable in this series than he was in the original, where he was a completely useless, traumatized, damaged boy. Whereas in this one, they're going for a more hopeful kind of vibe. I don't want to get too into spoilers or anything, but just little basic things, and if that's too much for you, then you don't have to watch it. I'm not going to be talking about the ending or anything like that, but if that's too much and you just can't handle it, I don't know, just you can do one of these, or you can just stop the video. I mean, like, I'm not your dad. If you want to keep watching, I won't tell anybody. But basically, the first hour of this film was my favorite because it was quite peaceful. It kind of let the story breathe a bit more than has been allowed in these movies so far. I've been worrying that these movies have really been abandoning the character development and the psychological depth of the series in favor of giant mech battles with better animation. But even then, even better animation. The fights in the original feel more grounded and clunky, and there's feel more danger and weight to the robots now that they can be more fluid especially in the use of CGI. It can be a bit too, I don't want to say Transformers-y, but maybe a touch Transformers-y. Let's be nice and say a touch Pacific Rim. Rey, who's been the best served by far of the characters in these rebuild movies, and just seeing her learn about human traits and things like that I thought was really well done, provided a lot of heart to the story. Obviously things start to get crazy later on, and there's lots of fights and things like that. It's hard to go into this movie without comparing it in a way to End of Evangelion, because this series already had an ending. Suffice it to say, the film before this kind of put the series off into a new direction, and so it's sort of more of an ending to that than it's an ending to where the original series was at the point it ended. It's very confusing, and I'm not entirely sure why they did that, but I'm also glad they did that. If these rebuilds were just complete remake the whole way through, they would be completely worthless. But I still feel like the series has lost a lot of its edge, which is what I liked about it. I liked how raw and damaged it was, and how angsty. Which isn't to say that I'm against something a little bit more positive or going for a more hopeful direction, particularly because I feel like Anno is very aware that a lot of his fans are very emotionally invested in this property, and he probably wants to make something that gives them something hopeful to look for about life. And there's something that just doesn't gel with me about that. I feel like some of the outcomes aren't as earned, and they feel given to the characters, as opposed to, you know, the realism of how far things had to go in the originals for a character to change just slightly. And now sort of things are a bit more handed to them. I sound like I'm coming across really negative about this, but honestly, I still ultimately very positive about this movie, because it's by far the best of the rebuilds in my opinion, though I was quite fond of the second one. It felt like a big event kind of a movie. Definitely the first hour was my favorite section, but in saying that, the action was pretty good. And then it got great towards the end. The last kind of section of the film was pretty weird. Pretty weird, even for Evangelion terms. But I mean, what did we expect? I'm gonna go with, I think, a very light 8 for now on the movie, which I almost feel is very generous. But at the end of the day, I loved that it was its own thing. Glad it wasn't just a rehash of End of Evangelion. I still think that's a better movie. I think I'm going to leave it at that. What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Tell me how you're doing. Alright. See. I just wanted to add super quickly that British girl Mary sucks. She's so bad. Like, I don't care if she's Anno's wife. It doesn't work. She's not a character. I mean, sure, it was nice to see Shinji be happy for once. And also, maybe, just maybe, we don't need to sexualize Asuka as much in these movies. It's a bit uncomfortable. I mean, she's 15.